Well, good morning. Good morning. Am I on? Am I on? Is this too low? All right, there we go. I think I can have some. So, I have a Christmas show I just love. Now, I don't love every version of it, but it's called The Christmas Carol. And I love it because it sums up the Gospels in a different way. And I like this really famous quote. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas every day. If any man alive possessed such knowledge, it was he. I like that about Ebenezer Scrooge. A guy that I would point out and pick on. People say, man, you're being Scroogey today. You know, and we all, who does not know Ebenezer Scrooge? Raise your hand. Yeah. So everyone knows him. And they've done some really good versions of him. My son loves the Muppet version, by the way. But I really like it because it takes a guy's life who he feels money is the true root of happiness. Or when you look at others, it's this. But when you look at the time Charles Dickens wrote it, the world was a lot uglier than it is today. There were people who were working in workhouses. Kids who did not have orphanages would go and have to work for their food every day. And it was a time of misery. And he wrote this book and said, look, there is hope. And it's in the gospel, but you don't want to look at the gospel. So let me write a story that will show you the gospel in a different way. In a different way we look at things. So today, we're going to be looking at the Christmas Carol and how it affected someone else. And I believe in our story today, the person we're going to look at, Charles Dickens looked at that same story and said, this is Ebenezer Scrooge right here. And I'm going to make a story about this guy. Though we don't read everything about this guy being like this, but you can assume and be accurate when you read about the story of Zacchaeus. He is Ebenezer Scrooge. When you look at his life, so let's look at his life for a moment here. Jesus is traveling, and Jesus is going to enter Jericho. And so he entered Jericho in chapter 19, verses 1 through 10 of Luke, and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. What's that mean to be a chief tax collector? Chief tax collector is someone who fights their way to get to that position. They want to be top dog and make everything about themselves. Their life is all about making money at that point. They don't care about the hearts of the people they're taking it from. They don't care about the life struggles that they take it from people. They just want the money. And it's a battle. It's a political battle. It's a financial battle. It's who can you please to get to this level of status with the Roman Empire. And it's one that is not usually chosen by a Jew. They normally would no, I don't want that. But Zacchaeus apparently had no one that loved him. So this is where he was going to find his love. His joy in life was going to be a chief tax collector. And he makes it, and he's rich. And in verse 3 it says, and he was seeking to see who Jesus was. He'd heard rumors. Now he wanted to see who this Jesus was. This Jesus, very famous guy. He must be looking really good. He must be very well dressed. Zacchaeus wanted to compare notes on what he looked like versus Jesus. And if he could look like Jesus, maybe he could get that appearance himself and get that entourage himself. But right now, the only people that follow him are other tax collectors that want his position or want his favor. But on an account of the crowd, he could not because he was small in stature. I would say he had dwarfism. And so therefore, he couldn't get into the crowd. The crowd would push him away because he's been tainted. He's a dwarf. In their culture, not acceptable. You had to have a curse on your life to be in that way. So they would have pushed him away. They would have not let him be a part of anything. Plus, being a chief tax collector, no one wants that scoundrel around them. Like Ebenezer Scrooge, no one wanted to be around him. He's a ball cover. He's a mean tyrant. So why do you let no? So they would form walls and not let him through. So he decides. He ran on ahead in verse 4 and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, being Jesus, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to that place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I'm going to have to stay in your house today." So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. Here's the scenario. Zacchaeus is in a tree. He's looking, and he can see somebody walking through the crowd. Someone kind of in a lead, but the crowd's still around him. He's like, "Wonder who that is. He don't look rich. He don't look famous. Who is that guy?" And then that guy stops and puts his hand on the tree and then looks up through the leaves and the boughs and said, "You, Zacchaeus, I know you. I know your name. I have to go to your house today. So you need to hurry up and come down because I ain't got time to waste." And Zacchaeus probably about fell out of that tree trying to get down that tree. I can imagine, because I used to be in trees. My mom would say, "What are you doing? Hurry up and get down this out of that tree right now." I'm like, "Get, no problem." Hitting limb, jumping from limb to limb, dropping down, getting to the ground as quick as I could. And I didn't get in trouble. Now Zacchaeus, he was happy about it. He's like, "Whoa, he knows my name." And he stopped and he looked at me. "This is Jesus. This is the guy I've heard about. Oh, this is joyful. And he's going to eat lunch with me?" No one ever eats lunch with me. No one ever invites me to their house. No one ever wants me around. And they won't throw Christmas parties like Darla. She won't throw a Christmas party for us. I don't know. I do a Christmas party. Well, my wife did a Christmas party. You know, it's all right, Darla. We love you anyway. We understand. No. Here we have Zacchaeus. He's joyful. He's overly joyful. And when they saw it, the crowd grumbled. They couldn't believe Jesus, a real Jew, would associate with a Jew who has turned traitor. How dare he? And here's what they said. "He has gone to be guest of a man who is a sinner." In their culture, they couldn't enter a threshold of a sinner. But they think they're all that. They think they're perfect. They think they're non-sinners, and how dare Jesus go socialize with a sinner? Because all these people have perfect lives. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, once he was in his house and they had eaten, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, since he is also a son of Abraham." You see, Jesus is telling the people, look, just because Zacchaeus is a chief tax collector and he works for the Romans doesn't mean he's not part of the family of God. He is. "You have shunned a brother. What have you done for yourselves? For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." Let's compare Zacchaeus and Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge, if you know the story, starts out a young man who grows up in a boarding school. His father does not want him, so he feels unloved. But then his sister comes back to him and brings him home, and he starts to feel love. And then he goes works for Fuzzy-Wig, and he's overjoyed. He loves the atmosphere. He loves the family and everything that goes with it. And then he meets a girl, and he wants to marry her. But he wants life to be perfect for her. To have perfect life, you have to have lots of money, so that you can buy this girl anything she wants. Right, Jeff? Anything she wants. Never say no. That's what I hear about Jeff. He never tells his wife no. So he just hoards wealth and never finds time to marry the girl, and she wanders away. And so then his joy that he thought was real love and joyfulness wasn't. It was the money, and it became overwhelming and controlling on him. And that's where he was. And that's where Zacchaeus is. He's a dwarf. He's not loved by anyone. He's shunned by his community. So what is his choice? Fine, if you won't love me as a member of the family of God, I'm going to do something that makes me happy. And if that means I befriend the Romans, so be it, because you don't like the Romans, and they don't like you. But if they like me, that's one on you. I'm now loved by someone more important than any of you Jews, because you all are a bunch of stick in the muds. You got your noses so high up in the sky you're going to drown because you think you're sinless. Well, I don't get that attitude from the Romans. They like me because I'm willing to go grab money for them. I'm willing to do whatever they want. So Ebenezer and Zacchaeus are unloved people, and they seek wealth, trying to find that happiness. philosophy's wrong. I'm going to stop under your tree that you're sitting in, and I'm going to interrupt your whole way of thinking. This whole philosophy that you have built up and grown up with and made this is who you are, I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to burn it. I'm going to destroy it because it's a false philosophy. You think no one loves you. You think you're in the cold, and you think that money is your only solution. I want to interrupt that. Isn't that what the three spirits did to Ebenezer Scrooge? When Marley comes into Ebenezer Scrooge and shows him, look, dude, your life, the way you think life should be, is all wrong. I thought that way too. And look what it did to me. It brought me down and everyone hated me. And now I wander the earth and look at all the people who are suffering. I can do nothing for them, but you have a chance. Jesus says, Zacchaeus, come out of that tree. Come out of that way you're thinking. I want to show you a new way. And then when he goes to lunch with him, well, Jesus brings a new lunch to Zacchaeus. It's a lunch to remember. He says, look, Zacchaeus, we're going to eat. But there was more than eating going on in that house that day. There was Jesus showing him his past. Just like Ebenezer Scrooge got showed his past. Jesus lays out the past of Zacchaeus and says, look, I knew you when you were a babe. I knew you before you were born. I know your past. I know the pain you went through. I know the suffering you went through. And I'm going to tell you, that's past. Cut that loose and let that go. Send that boat a sail and let it sink wherever it goes. But don't keep it on the shoreline with you. It's past. So like Ebenezer Scrooge, who's shown his past and shown what joy was and where he's at now, not very good. And then Jesus says, now let's talk about your present situation. You're a chief tax collector. I know what you did to the blacksmith over there. I know what you charge the pottery maker over there. I know what you charge that innkeeper, and I know you weren't charging them the fair rates that the Romans say because you didn't like the blacksmith. So you've charged him 3 times more than he should be paying. And the hotel manager, the innkeeper, 5 times much? Really? Because she wouldn't let you stay one night at her place? Really? And the pottery maker, he didn't make you a pot like you wanted? So now you're charging him 10 times as much every other week? Zacchaeus, I'm astounded at you. Why are you doing this? Do you not know these people have family? Let me tell you about their lives real quick. What you think you're not doing much harm to, all you're doing is taking money, let me tell you what you're doing to their lives. So he lays out the community where Zacchaeus is living, and he lays out their lives of the people. And he says, Zacchaeus, do you see this? This is what you're doing today to these people. Yes, you thought they were shunning you, but they have a reason to shun you. It's not because you're short. It's because what's in your heart and what you're doing to them. Now, Zacchaeus, let me show you your future. You're at a crossroads right here, brother. You're at a crossroads. I'm in your house today. Like the ghost of Christmas future, I'm here, and I'm going to lay out your future. You have 2 choices. You can continue on the path you're on, and I guarantee you, hell is waiting for you. And the punishment you think you're facing now and the torment you think you're facing now from the people around you will be nothing compared to what my Father will allow to happen to you in hell. Or, at the crossroads today, here I am, brother, to offer you salvation. You can turn from where you're at. You can change your heart. You can move from who you were and become something new. It's up to you. My lunchtime is over. I've got to hit the road. What's your choice? Now we know what Zacchaeus' choice is. He says, Lord Jesus, I've been wrong. I'm going to pay back everything I've stolen 4 times the amount. And I'm such a wealthy man. I have so much wealth, I don't know what to do with. I'll never use it all. I have no one to give it to. But now you've shown me my neighbors, those who are truly suffering, and I can help with that suffering a little bit. So I'm going to give this to this person, and I'm going to give this to all the poor people out there who are really struggling and trying, but just can't seem to make it under the Roman Empire's thumb, I'm going to help relieve them. Because God has blessed me. You've shown me that. Like Ebenezer, who that morning throws up the window and says, what day is it? And the boy says, well, it's Christmas morning. I haven't missed it. And he goes out and he shops and he buys the fatted turkey, wasn't it? And he sends it. And he goes there to Bob Cratchit's house and he knocks on the door and says, dude, what are you doing here? I don't think so. And he says, you're a partner. You're no longer an employee. You're a partner. I want to share what I have with you. I want to bless your family. I want to give you what I have. I want to make you family because I have no family. You're the closest thing I have family. So you're now family, dude. What I have is yours because that's what God intends. So when we look at this story of the Christmas carol, we see Zacchaeus. When you read the story of Zacchaeus now, think of Ebenezer Scrooge, or vice versa. What we see here then is that Christ offers another gift. Another gift to us with inside his birth is another one. I got to set that here. Someone's decorating up the stage really nice for us. We have forgiveness. Jesus offered Zacchaeus the gift of forgiveness. You've done so many evils. You've done so many hurtful things to your friends and neighbors. But Zacchaeus, I'm giving you forgiveness, a way out of the issues that's going to come with that. I'm going to offer you a new life, a new chance. So Jesus says, my birth is forgiving birth. I give forgiveness, I give resistance, I give family, and I give forgiveness. It's up to us. And when we accept forgiveness, when we accept this new change, when we're willing to say, yes, I see the error of my way. Yes, I do see where my path has taken me. I was blind. I thought everyone just hated me because of me. I didn't realize I was doing anything wrong. Jesus, I want that forgiveness. Jesus, come have lunch with me. Show me my past, show me my present, and remind me of my future so that I can keep myself remembering Christmas every day. I want to live like that. That's going to create a new heart for us. That's going to create a new heart of forgiveness, which creates a life of joy. When you see people who are always joyful, you can answer your own questions. How is that possible? How are they always joyful no matter what goes on? It's because they understand forgiveness. They don't hold it back from people. They don't hold, okay, I'm going to forgive this person, but I'm not going to forget what they've done. Well, that's not forgiving. That's not forgiving at all. God says the definition of forgiveness is when my son forgives you, it's washed away and I don't see it anymore. I don't know about it anymore. It's a clean slate. Every time you sin, and Jesus, forgive me for this. Jesus does, because he knows your heart and you're willing to turn from that action. Jesus says, you're forgiven. I've forgotten it. My Father no longer sees it. It's a new heart. It's a new life. It's a new joy. We, as the representatives, have to offer that. If someone says, hey, I've sinned you, I've sinned against you, I'd like your forgiveness. We then will reciprocate if it's honest. Say, absolutely, you're forgiven. Just as Jesus has forgiven me the thousands of times I messed up. I forgive you, and I won't remember this anymore. Let's just wipe that away and forget that ever. Never bring that back up. We'll leave that where it was. Cut that boat and send it to sail. That's what Ebenezer Scrooge did. It took some time in the story. Not everyone liked him right away. But it took time. But when time happened and he showed that he was willing to change his life and the forgiveness took place and it was true to hold and people gave time, his life was known in the books as the best person in Christmas ever could be. Zacchaeus, I'm sure in that town of his, once he let salvation take hold of him, once he let that forgiveness take hold of him, he changed his ways, he gave to the poor, he became the chief tax collector of one that was responsible to the Romans, but kind and loving to the Jews. He no longer fed on them. He no longer abused that relationship. He treated them like family. He said, hey, I've got a job to do, but I'm not going to use it and abuse it anymore. Let's be family. That's the gift. That's the gift of forgiveness. That's what we all need to offer this year, at this time of the year. To especially remember, it's about forgiveness. Because we're going to be going to families in the next couple of weeks and socializing with family and saying, I don't like that person, I don't like that person. And I was talking to someone last night about a family member of mine that I struggle with every year when I do see this person. And I need to be able to say, hey, there's all that issue that we've had in the past. I forgive you. I'm not going to remember it. I'm going to let go. I'm going to act like it never happened. And let's just start over new. That's what Jesus says for us to do for each other. Because if we can't do it for each other, he cannot do it for us. Now I want to leave us with a reminder here. Paul reminds us in Ephesians 4:32. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you. So as we offer an invitation and our praise team comes up, remember, it's the heart that matters. We have to be kind and tender-hearted, not cold-hearted, not hard-hearted, but tender. Feeling the pains of others, willing to cry with them, and yes, even willing to hug them if they need a hug. So as we